The spectacular Slinger 2.5, back to work. Petar swung into his small apartment in Harlem. It was noisy outside but had that familiar stillness, a stillness that only neighborhoods who see some shit get. His body was tired, sore, and bloody from the fight with the Oni. The swing across California to get a portal home didn't help either. Finally I can get some sleep in. Flopping over onto the couch, a racket was made as he bumped into a bunch of dishes that he hadn't cleaned in weeks. Aunt May would be very disappointed if she saw that, but Petar was just too busy for it. "Oh, a new science fair project, hooray," was the not-so-funny quip from Petar. It was purely instinct, a coping mechanism. Moving the bowls, he grabbed his blanket, pulling the mask off, and settled in for a night's rest. He knew he didn't have much time before sunrise, but he could at least try and get a few hours in, finally take a moment to just rest. Sleep had become the most valuable moments for Piers. He thought he'd have more time for it after high school, and then after college, and now it's after making money. He honestly couldn't tell anyone the last time he had a good night of rest, at least not after Uncle Ben's murder. Only after lying on the couch for an hour did he remember he forgot to get more of his medicine. While he healed faster than most people, he also couldn't take normal drugs to help him drift off to sleep. The only stuff he found effective was animal tranquilizer, which of course was very expensive. Once Piers finally felt himself drift off, his body feeling lighter, his mind empty, his alarm started to blare loudly. "You have got to be shitting me." "No, I'm going back to bed. I defy you, alarm clock." "It's only Monday." "Wait, it's Monday." Scrambling out of bed, he had to check his scheduled streams, and his heart sank as he realized he had a full day of work and a patrol planned. "I need adrenaline," was all he could mutter as he half-heartedly wandered over to the fridge and chugged a monster before going over to his computer and starting to edit footage from some of his fights to put it all on the YouTube. Spectacular Spider-Man, singing along to the catchy theme Triple J made for his knockoff Slinger TV show. He had to shake off the drowsiness if he was going to make it through the day. Working on projects always did that for him. His side still hurt from the cuts and bruises from the Ona's greatsword. He wished it was as simple as Jonah made it seem for him on TV, but sadly when Piers got hit, the hit stuck around. Watching the footage, Pete noticed just how many times his suit was torn or ripped, how many times he barely dodged a bullet, or the few times he actually did. He didn't really think watching his own clips of him being awesome would make him realize how shit he was at this job. Or how it would give him an idea to improve. Setting the clips to stockpile, Petar grabbed his notebook and got to work. If he wasn't going to be able to dodge forever in a big fight, he should design a suit that could. It would need to be something less militarized than the Iron Spider suit, but something more tough than his normal suit. First he had to figure out how to make it tough. He could use a cut-resistant fiber, but the ballistic impact of a bullet would still be enough to break a bone. So a gel behind the fiber could work, something that if hit by a bullet would absorb most of the force for him. These upgrades could be added to his main suit as well. However, if he was going to put in the work to design a new suit for combat, he should go an extra mile. He had a suit costume code named Noir that could fit this idea. Making the trench coat out of a heavier material and metal plates would be pretty cool, could get some interesting vids of the new suit getting shot. Quickly sketches would form the new, dark suit, folding over ideas of codename Noir with some experimental upgrades he had been wanting to use for a stealth suit. Such as an enhanced suit AI to better analyze the environment, giving him a pseudo-detective vision, impact cushioning pads in his boots to make the suit silent when running, and microelectronic device interfaces located in his fingertips. The interfaces allow him to connect to devices he touches wirelessly and automatically hack them. It was a program he already had but never had the ability to effectively use in the field. However, with that modification he could, though a touch-up to the program would probably be smart. With the sketch being finished, he now had to go about the hard part, getting the materials and the technology. After his streaming, he could do a patrol where he raids the few Oscorp facilities left. Stark wouldn't mind if he snooped about to get the tech he needed. They used to be good friends before the No Way Home incident. After that he could plunder some destroyed shoes and take the padding from them. Maybe visit a few studios to see about soundproofing material. That would just mean the threads and lenses would be the biggest problems to get. The gel could be created at one of the Oscorp labs, but those he'd need to get lucky for or ask Aunt Pepper for some help. He'd hate to do that though, she has her own problems running SWORD. It would be several hours before he could get back to that train of thought, a few streams later, playing Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars Galaxies, God of War, and whatever the algorithm would want him to play so he could afford rent, and then he was out of the house, zipping down Harlem's streets. His suit in the light was a giant white blur. One of his favorite modifications was the fact it could change color based on the light. He noticed how just the mere sight of him was enough to get some people to do the right thing or stop whatever petty crime they were going to do. Honestly, seeing a New Yorker not litter when a superhero swung by was a pretty eye-opening sight. Either they were really scared of him, if so he'd have to strangle one of his doppelgangers for whatever they did, or they knew he'd do something. Whether it was pick up their garbage or save their bike. He did try to be friendly neighborhood after all. Landing on top of one of the Oscorp labs that was closed down by the Stark Enterprises merger, Petar got to work breaking in. It was technically a crime, but he was no black cat. He wasn't stealing anything that wouldn't be missed, and he definitely wasn't going to sell it so someone like the Prowler could get their hands on it. Inside the lab there was something, however. Beyond the weird gliders and bombs, there was something new inside. A large bow was wrapped around it with a note. The note was covered in ants, so Petar had a pretty good idea what it was all about, and he wasn't eager to get his ass chewed out. The note wasn't written in the best handwriting but read as, "Hey Slinger, this is Bullet Ant, assuming you didn't see the ants. I made you a few things that I thought you could use. Go visit your aunts sometimes, they worry. Love Pim. P.S. Sorry about the Cycles AI, she's a bitch." That was surprisingly short and heartwarming. He rarely ever got anything from Uncle Pim, and never on some random day. Tearing the bow and pulling the tarp off the cycle, he looked at the gifts. It was a motorcycle and some kind of gun. The motorcycle looked sweet. It had a modern, sleek design, but its bulky spots definitely meant it had some awesome modifications. The gun looked a bit like a shotgun or blunderbuss, though the ammo slots looked roughly about the size for a web cartridge from his web shooters. Suddenly the bike's screen booted up and a feminine voice spoke. "Hello Slinger, this is the Spider Cycle, would you like a tutorial?" Was that the AI? She didn't seem like a bitch like he was told. It was very robotic, no personality really being shown when it talked. "I don't need a full tutorial at the moment, I just have some questions." Activating tutorial, crap. Suddenly the cycle roared to life and pulled Slinger along as it started to drive up a wall on its own. The Spider Cycle is designed with your powers and fighting style in mind. It is more efficient than web swinging and faster. It can autopilot. As the robot spoke, the cycle ramped off the wall and adjusted in the air to perfectly fly through the open window Slinger used to get in. To allow you to fight or fire the web cannon. The web cannon is a modified shield capture device developed by director Valrun Pim during one of his schizophrenic charged inventing sprees. It fires your webbing alongside several different gadgets developed by Spear, including an EMP generator. The Robe Cycle launched its own web tether between the lab and a building to drive on before boosting off of and across the street. When not in use, the Spider Cycle will be stored on the Chimera, ready to be launched when you need it, assuming you cannot afford a garage. Ouch, his empty wallet would be offended if that wasn't so convenient. The cycle would steal most of his day but provide some critical information to Petar. He'd be adding it to the dark suit definitely. Gathering the materials for the dark suit, however, that would take more of his night than he wished it did. But in the end it was ready. The trench coat, fedora, all of it ready and looking very good.